Hello, welcome to this video, welcome to 2024 and hopefully to a return to my channel. I have not filmed a video on this channel for a very long time. I very much got out of the habit of filming with certain things that were going on in my life last year and just never really found the right opportunity to get back into it. I tried to film several videos over the latter part of the year and just nothing really ever came together. So my apologies for my absence, and I really hope that I can make somewhat of a regular return to this channel in the coming months, but you will have to stick around to find out. So as I said, it is now 2024. It is actually the 2nd of January. I started the year yesterday actually being at work, so haven't really had much of a New Year celebration, but I was off for Christmas this year, so that wasn't too bad. I had a whole 4 days off work, which was quite the luxury. But anyway, have worked over New Year, but I'm off work today. It's my regular day off on a Tuesday anyway. And as you can see, it's a lovely sunny day behind me. I don't know how long this will last for, but I am looking forward to clearing out all of my Christmas clutter, doing a bit of a deep clean of my room and my house, and then this afternoon I think I'm actually going out. So I think my dad and I are going to go out for lunch and to the cinema, so that will be fun. I will let you know what we end up seeing and how that goes, and also I will let you know my reading plans. So I probably won't get much read until this evening today because, as I've said, lots of things happening, but I do want to sit down and go through some of the books that I plan to read over the next few weeks, probably this month. I don't know how long these things will take me to do, but I have lots of things that I'm excited to read. I have a few things that I've been lent by friends which I need to try and get to. I also have a couple of books that I've been putting off reading for quite some time but have really meant to get to, that I think I want to start the year productively by getting to. So this is just a little rambly introduction to say hello, welcome or welcome back, and I really look forward to having your company in my life and with my reading over the next few weeks. So it is a fair bit later now. I have, as you can probably tell, de-Christmased my entire room. I have got rid of all of my beautiful but now very unseasonal decorations. They are all packed away. I've done a clean. I've moved all of my other plants back to where they normally live, and I'm just feeling a lot more clean and tidy and settled with my space. I have also just washed my hair, so forgive the slightly dishevelled appearance, and I did actually manage to go out for lunch and to go to the cinema too, as I mentioned I probably would do earlier. My dad and I went to see the Ferrari film, which actually I really enjoyed. I like my racing, I like my cars, so it was a fair bet that I was going to enjoy, and I actually think it was really well acted. I think Adam Driver did a very good job in the title role. I wasn't really sure what to expect from the story, and I was a little surprised in a way that it was so much of like a slice of life story. It wasn't really a big like exploration of his lifetime. It was just a little chunk of, you know, one particular set of events that just gave you a little bit of a snapshot of how his life was at that time, and I did really enjoy it. It was a lot more sort of people centric rather than about the racing team so much, which I was less bothered about. But yeah, really good. I think the stunts were a bit far-fetched, I will say. I was not overly convinced by the action sequences, but for the most part I really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to make it a bit more of a goal this year to go to the cinema more often. I said I would do this last year and I think I went twice in the entirety of 2023, so if we can improve on twice I will be doing well. But I really love films, so hopefully that's something you'll see a little bit more of me talking about throughout the course of the year. But what I wanted to do right now is, as I promised earlier, take you through my proposed reads for the next few weeks, my January TBR, if you will. I don't set a particular TBR for the year or for month to month. I just tend to come up with a bit of a list of things that I would like to get to in the near future. And this month I want to focus on both books that I own but haven't read yet. I don't actually have a particularly large owned unread TBR, but I would like to focus on some of those, and also some books that I've either been putting off for a while or that I've been lent, so I have like a time pressure to get through those. So without further ado, here we are. The first one I want to read is Wakenhurst by Michelle Paver. So I bought this secondhand last year at some point. I forget where I actually got this from, probably a National Trust property. I often buy books from their secondhand bookshops. And I've read other books by Michelle Paver in the past. I read a middle grade series by her over the past few years, which I really love, The Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. This, I believe, is very different. This is an adult book. It's a gothic, historic type story. I don't really know anything about the story, but I'm intrigued to read more from this author and see if I love this one as much as I loved her middle grade series. Next up we have another one which I purchased I think about a year and a half ago now, called City of Vengeance, which you can see by D.V. Bishop. This is a historical crime story. I believe this has some sort of representation as well. I bought it in London, it's, as I say, a year and a half ago when I went on a trip with my friends, from the Gay is the Word bookshop, so hence why I'm assuming it has some sort of representation in there. I love a historical crime. I don't know why it's taken me so long to get to this one. This, I believe, is set in the Tudor times in Italy, so I will let you know how this goes. I hope to read this one fairly quickly, and I believe actually it's the first book in a series as well, so you may well see more from this series if I end up enjoying this one. Next up we have a book which my friend has lent to me and which I know has a lot of hype around it, and I've been toying with the idea of reading for a couple of years now, but was never quite sure that it would be my thing. I believe this one is quite a sort of light fantasy set in the real world, has a lot of found family type tropes in there as well, and again I believe has representation in it of the LGBT community. I don't know what I will think of this one. I may well think it's overhyped, but I've also heard that it's very cozy and that it's quite a sort of heartwarming, comforting type story. So my friend raved about it too, so I feel like I owe it to her to give this a chance. So that one will be coming up soon, I hope too. Next up we have another change of genre into the more epic political type fantasy, which I typically favour. This is an absolute chunker of a book. I believe this is 700 and something pages. This being The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. I have heard this one very highly spoken of. I love an epic fantasy. I have not long finished up reading the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne, actually rereading because I did read that many years ago, but I'm really in the mood for more proper fantasy, and I am excited by how long this is, in the fact that I know so much will happen. There'll be so many complicated plots, lots of characters, all of the things that I love for true escapist reading. So I'm really excited about this one, and again this is the start of a series, so there is a bit of a theme here of starting new series, but I do also hope to finish off a lot of series this year too, but clearly not in January. Next up we have another one with a bit of a time pressure on it, and that is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. This one I actually have on loan from my library, so I only have a couple of weeks to get to this one. Sorry about the glare on the cover. This one I know very little about, but I think it's some sort of dark academia type story, but I've mainly picked it up because I have previously read from Ava Reid. I read The Wolf and the Woodsman a couple of years ago and absolutely loved it, so when I saw this one in the library I thought definitely this is something I want to give a go to. As I say, no more than that, so I will let you know what I think of this one, and hopefully it is a story that does appeal to me just as much as her previous book did. I don't have physical copies of the next ones, but I do also this month want to get to the next issue of Heartstopper, so Heartstopper Volume 5 by Alice Oseman. This is a contemporary teenage romance type graphic novel series which focuses on a lot of hard-hitting issues about identity and kind of finding yourself, and again representation of many different forms, and I just love this series. I don't typically read contemporaries or graphic novels, but I particularly like Heartstopper, and honestly I think everyone should read these, so I'm very excited to get to the next instalment of that one. Another book which I don't have physically but I really want to read because I've heard very good things about recently is The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. I think that this one is on Scribd, which isn't Scribd anymore, and I keep forgetting the name of Everand, that's the one. I think it's on there as an audiobook, so I will most likely consume it in that format this month, but I believe again that is a sort of light fantasy in the real world. I think it crosses a couple of different time points or follows different characters across time, I'm not entirely sure, and is very much a book about books as well, which I always enjoy reading about. So I'm excited about that one. And then the very last book that I have on my proposed TBR for the month is one which very much intimidates me, and I've honestly been wanting to read but also putting off reading for a very long time. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandra Dumas. I love this edition. I collect these Barnes & Noble leather-bound editions, and this is just absolutely stunning. I mean, look at all the gold on this. It's such a beautiful thing, but it's huge. It's over 1,000 pages, and obviously is a classic, was written historically, so I think the language will be fairly intense. I don't know anything about this one either, apart from that it is a revenge story. I've heard this referenced in lots of places, but most recently actually I've read a couple of references to this in my continuation of the Cemetery of Forgotten Books series by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, which incidentally I want to read the 4th book in that series fairly soon too, but perhaps not in January. I may be pushing it at the moment with the amount of books I'm trying to fit in. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this and to finally understand all of those references that I hear to it, and I just think it's such a gorgeous book that I want to do it justice, and actually for it to deserve a place on my shelves through merit, not just through being beautiful. This one will probably take me a really long time, so I will string it out over the month while reading other things at the same time. So there you have it. That is a selection of books which I plan to read during the month of January. We will see how many of those I actually do get to and how many I move over to the next month or completely forget about and end up reading something else that I'm in the mood for. But that's the vague plan so far. I have already started reading Wakenhurst, so that will probably be the first one I get to completing this month, but stay tuned to find out, and I will leave this very rambly segment here and check in with you again in the next few days. Hello, I have just got in from the gym, so excuse my slightly red face, and I'm just running a bath, but I thought this was a good time to give you a quick update because I've actually finished my first book of the year already. I'm actually really quite pleased with myself that I've managed to finish a book this early on. So it wasn't a particularly long book, but this is a historical fiction which I thought I would read a little bit slower, but I have actually raced through this one fairly quickly. So this is Wakenhurst by Michelle Paver. This is a sort of gothic historical fiction following our main character, a girl called Maud, from when she's a child up until she's kind of an older teenager, and the events around the crumbling Gothic manor which she and her father live in on the outskirts of the Fens in kind of the east of England. Now, the Fens is a landscape which fascinates me. I haven't really ever been there and I don't know much about it, but I was really intrigued to read a story set there, and I now really would actually like to go and experience that landscape because I think it was the perfect setting for a Gothic book like this, and it's my favourite part about Gothic books in that the landscape becomes almost a character in itself. It's very much sets the tone and the atmosphere, but you feel that there's like this extra element to the story which is the setting, and rather than just another character or a supernatural figure or something like this. So I really enjoyed it for that side. The plot of this I felt was a little bit lacking. It wasn't the most captivating series of events, you know. It was definitely much more of an atmospheric book than a heavy story, which is absolutely fine for a book like this, but I think because I've recently been reading quite a lot of epically long multi-volume fantasy novels that are obviously riddled with plot, they have lots and lots of events happening all of the time, this felt very, very slow to me in comparison. But for what it was, very good. Probably a 3 out of 5 stars, this one for me. But I'm glad I started the year with this. It was something a little bit different. I haven't read many Gothic books recently, and yeah, I'm glad I've got through this one. So that's book number 1 done for the year. I think the next book, I'm torn with what to read next. So I have a little stack of books down here that I want to start reading physically. I obviously do have this beast to start at some point, but I don't think that's going to happen midweek. I will probably save that one for the weekend. I do potentially want to pick this one up fairly soon. My friend lent me this and I do actually want to return it to her in a somewhat timely fashion, so potentially this will be the next one I pick up. But I'm also really excited to start The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. That's one that I'll actually be consuming via audiobook, and I think I'm in the mood for an audiobook. I think I'd like to sit and listen to something this evening while doing one of my hobbies, maybe doing some crochet or some colouring or something, I don't know. So maybe that's the way we go. Wait and see the next clip and watch me read none of those things, but regardless, book number 1 of the year is done and I'm feeling somewhat accomplished so far. Hello! So it is now Saturday morning, a beautifully sunny morning as you can see, and I wanted to give you a bit of a reading update because I haven't checked in for the last couple of days about my reading, but I am now halfway through my latest book, which is City of Vengeance by D.V. Bishop. Now this is not the book that I initially thought I was going to pick up the other night after finishing Wakenhurst, but I was in the mood for a physical book rather than an audiobook in the end, and this is the one that I chose. So this book is set in the 1530s in Florence in Italy, and it follows our main character, Cesare Aldo. Apologies if any of the pronunciations of these Italian names are not correct, by the way. I do not speak the language, although I would really love to, but we'll get to that another time. Anyway, so Cesare Aldo is a member of the Otto, so the city guard, I guess kind of the precursor to their police force. And at the start of this book, he has been sent on guard duty to escort a prominent Jewish moneylender back to the city. And on the road, both the moneylender and Aldo himself are attacked and narrowly escape with their lives. And then the following day, on returning to the city, the moneylender actually turns up murdered. So Aldo is tasked with investigating this murder and figuring out who did the deed in a very, very short time span. The city is also under the influence of the de Medici family, so very prominent and well-known historical figures in Italian history and indeed European history, and something which I'm really intrigued to see actually as kind of a backstory to a book that I'm reading. I haven't had that experience before. There is also a second murder in this, which occurs very early on in the book also, so isn't really a spoiler. That is of a young male courtesan, and there is a great scandal across the city of a diary which belonged to him, which is uncovered, and names and shames, if you like, a lot of prominent male merchants and influential figures across the city. And of course, at the time, male-male relationships and goings-on were not thought highly of in this sort of Tudor era. So lots of intrigue, lots of things going on. I'm really liking it so far. I'm not loving it yet. I feel like the writing style is just okay. It's enjoyable, it's easy to get through, but I'm not blown away by it. I'm finding it a little distracting as well that there's a trait which the author's using of just throwing very occasional Italian words into the bulk of the prose, which I think is a little bit odd. It's mainly kind of swear words or like expressions, but they just keep throwing in these few Italian words and then nothing else, and it comes across like they're the only words of Italian that they bother to learn for this book, which I'm sure is not the case, but I'm finding that a little bit jarring at the moment. But otherwise, on the whole, enjoying this one, and I will hope to get this one finished this weekend. It's probably about another 200-ish pages, 220 or something left of this, so I'm sure that's possible over 2 days. I do have a few things going on today. I've got a few errands to run. I'm actually going over to meet a couple of friends this evening, going around to one of my friends' houses who's just recently had a baby, so that will probably take up most of my evening, but I will be sure to let you know when I've read some more of this, potentially at the end of the weekend when I've finished it, and we'll take things from there. Again, so I have made some really good progress with my book. It is about an hour or so later. I need to actually get up and get on with my day now, but as you can see, I've got a good chunk further. I am now on page 251, so really good progress this morning. I'm over halfway in this book now, and it's going well. The intrigue is ramping up. We're definitely building the plot in an interesting sort of way. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I'm enjoying the story content a little bit more. Writing style is still slightly getting on my nerves, but not much change there. But content-wise, as I say, I'm much more intrigued by the plot, and it feels like we almost are approaching a conclusion, yet with this amount of pages left, I'm wondering if we're going to have a big twist at the end, but we'll have to carry on reading, and I will let you know. I will probably pick this back up this evening, but for now, I have things to get going with. I just wanted to show you as well an amusing little thing which I've noticed, that the chapter I've just got up to actually is the same date and day of the week as it is today. So apparently the calendar in 1536 was exactly the same as it is in 2024. There we go. Random piece of useless information for you. So I will go and crack on with my errands for the day, and I will check in with you again a little later on. Such a perfect winter day. Beautiful sunshine, beautiful blue sky. I'm really happy to be out here. So it is now Sunday evening, and I'm just checking in to update you one last time about City of Vengeance, because I have now finished this book. My thoughts on this are not significantly different than they were halfway or whenever I last updated you. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. I thought it was on the whole an intriguing but not massively groundbreaking, new to me kind of plot. I liked learning a bit more about this historical period, about the links to the de Medicis and this era within Italy, because that's not something I've read about before. I liked our main character. I found some of the other characters interesting, though a touch stereotyped in places, but I liked it. I wouldn't go out of my way to seek out the sequel, but if I happen across it in a second-hand bookshop or in my library or something, I would most likely give it a go. Probably a 3 out of 5 star for this one. Intrigue was good. The writing style, as I mentioned before, did annoy me slightly, but on the whole, a good read, and I'm glad that I've managed to finally get through another book. I did also go on a beautiful walk earlier today, which you've probably seen some b-roll of already, and while out there I did manage to start another book. I started the audiobook of The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods, which I've been highly anticipating getting to, and even though I've only read about 30 minutes of this audiobook, I'm already really enjoying this. I think the writing style will be right up my street. It seems very whimsical and lyrical. So with these 2 books read this week, that brings me up to a total of around 800 pages, which is not too shabby for the first week of the year. I did also manage to start a little bit of an audiobook while I was out on my walk, Read a little bit of The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods, which I was highly anticipating getting to. I'm about half an hour into this, barely anything at all, but thoroughly enjoying what I've read of this so far, and I look forward to catching you up on that a little bit more once I'm further into this, most likely in next week's video. So I think that is as good a place as any to end this week's video. Thank you very much for watching. It is lovely to be back chatting to you and documenting my life and my reading, and I very much hope this will continue in a somewhat regular fashion over the coming weeks and months of the year, and I will hope to check back with you with another week-long video next week. I don't know if I will keep up doing week by week, but I know that I have a few things I want to get to next week, and I'm actually away next weekend as well, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more of the nature travel side of things, which I love to document just as much as the books. But for now, I will leave this video here. Thank you very much for watching as always. Leave me a like down below if you enjoyed it. Chat to me in the comments about any of the books I've read, places I've been, anything else you'd like to discuss with me. I always love to chat to you. And please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content from me. It really, really means a lot and helps support my channel too. Thank you for watching. I will see you very soon in the next video, so goodbye for now.